Hey, welcome back to Are You Smarter Than a Libertarian? I'm Jeff, your favorite human who loves liberty more than most people love their morning coffee. And speaking of things that cause massive headaches, today we're diving into a topic that may just give you a philosophical migraine: the human and environmental tolls of Marx's ideas, the cost of utopian dreams. That's right, folks, strap in because we're about to see why some of the grand ideas of Marxist theory sound more like a plot to a dystopian novel than a workable solution for society. Now, before you roll your eyes and start typing your angry little comments about how I'm not understanding Marx correctly, let me tell you, I get it. Everyone has their own interpretation of Marxism. I'm sure Marx himself would have been all about theoretical refinement if he were alive today. But let's face it, his ideas were a little too in theory and not enough in practice. And when you put that into action, it tends to cost a lot more than just money. So let's break down the cost of utopian dreams. Grab your snacks. This might get spicy. All right, Marx. He came up with some pretty bold ideas, didn't he? I mean, theoretical communism sounds like a pretty sweet deal on paper, right? Let's have a world where everyone's equal, no private property, no class division. Basically, no problems. All we need is a little revolution. But here's the thing. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. And trust me, when Marx tried to implement his ideas in real life, well, it just wasn't the roads that got messed up. Let's talk about the human toll first, because I'm sure that's something we can all agree on is important. First up, when Marx's utopia is put into practice, we get something called centralized power. Now, if you're a fan of centralized power, congratulations, you're either a dictator or you're about to be one. See, when the state controls everything, and I do mean everything, it tends to get a little, power hungry. Historically speaking, countries like the Soviet Union, Cuba, and North Korea kind of had a knack for turning those ideas into giant human rights violations. And let's throw China in there too, and as well as Cambodia. In fact, the Soviet Union's attempt to redistribute the wealth involved redistributing people into gulags. Millions of people died under Stalin's regime, and this wasn't just because of poor decision making. This was the direct result of trying to create a utopia where equality was achieved by force. Sure, they had some idealistic slogans, but I don't think power to the people is supposed to mean I'm going to send you to Siberia for owning a goat. Check out the book Gulag Archipelago. Now, let's talk about the environmental impact, because if you think that environmental justice is about hugging trees and singing Kumbaya, then Marxism might have misunderstood the whole nature thing. Remember, under Marxism, private property is a no-go, which sounds good when you're on your fifth coffee at your local commune. But when it comes to the environment, things get a little sketchy. So when there's no private property, who takes care of the environment? The answer? No one. I mean, imagine if you lived in a neighborhood where no one owned their homes. Would you water the lawn? No. Would you pick up the trash? No. Or would you just wait for someone else to do it? Yes. The answer is clear. Not a single person will be responsible for maintaining anything. No incentives, no property values, no care for what happens next. Under Marx's ideas, everything is supposed to be collective. But guess what? No one takes care of the commons. I'm going to do a video on the tragedy of the commons. Whether it's Soviet industrial pollution or China's overuse of coal, central planning can cause some major environmental damage. Chernobyl. Instead of progress, Marxism often leads to environmental regression. So we've covered the human and environmental tolls, but let's get into the juicy part: why Marx's utopian dream is kind of like a perfect diet that's only available in theory. It sounds great, right? But practically, not so much. When you centralize everything, from the economy to the environment, you're kind of throwing the baby out with the bathwater. The people who had the most power in these Marxist systems were the working class. They were the bureaucrats, the elites, and of course, those at the top of government. Wow, that almost sounds like pretty much every socialist country in the world. What Marx didn't anticipate is that incentives matter. And you can't force people to work just because it's fair. People work because there's a reason for it, whether it's to buy a new car, put food on a table, or even just to feel value, or to set aside money to start a business. When the state controls everything, that kind of personal motivation, poof, gone. No surprise, people check out of the labor force faster than you can say comrade. So, what have we learned today? that the road to utopia is paved with good intentions and possibly some questionable decisions about how to run a country. You can't just wave a magic wand and make everything equal. Trust me. I've tried out my sock drawer and I'm still missing socks. The human and environmental costs of Marx's idea are pretty clear when you look at history. The centralization of power didn't just lead to more control, it led to more suffering, inequality, and a really messy environment. So maybe next time someone says, let's just do what Marx said, you can remind them that sometimes good ideas don't always make for good results, even great results, or acceptable results. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a libertarian. I take personal responsibility, individual rights, and a free market economy where people can decide what is best for their lives. Because the only utopia I'm interested in is one where people can freely choose how to live without anyone telling them what to do, like the government. All right, folks, that's it for today's episode of Are You Smarter Than a Libertarian? If you enjoyed this, and hey, even if you didn't, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, and share with your favorite Marxist friends. They need a little education, don't you think? Thank you to all the new subscribers I have. New videos drop every day. Until next time, stay free, stay informed, and stay accountable.